Albert Einstein once said that the most important decision you'll ever make is to decide once and for all whether you live in a universe that is supportive, that supports you and is friendly, or whether you live in a universe that is hostile and is non-supportive.
So we got a program. What was the program? It said, you don't heal yourself, the doctor heals you. A negative belief can hurt you, if not kill you, as much as a positive belief can heal you.
How often do you hear you have to take a pill for virtually any ailment that might be concerning you, and then if you don't have one, they'll invent one, you know.
And create new ailments.
Right, exactly.
Your body has these reserve cells, and the understanding of these reserve cells is that they will repair or replace anything that your intention is focused on.
He said, I can change my behavior, and there's a lot of things that I can change in my life, but the thing that I can't change is my DNA. I can't change my genetics. I can't help the way I am. It's just what I inherited. And I sat there and thought, that's what so many people think.
And it's a major disconnect because we've been all programmed with a belief that we are sort of victims of our heredity. That we didn't pick the genes that we came with, we can't change the genes that we come with, and then hook that with the belief that the genes control who we are, and then all of a sudden you realize, well, I'm a victim. I can't get out of my own heredity. And it's an unfortunate situation because what we now know in this new field, and it's called, the great name is called epigenetic control. So what you say, epigenetic control, what you're saying is control above the genes. And this is where it comes into the simple reality that the environment and our perception of the environment actually can rewrite our genetic code. It doesn't change the DNA. It changes the readout of the DNA. DNA are the genes, and genes are blueprints. You can create over 30,000 different variations from the same blueprint, the same gene. And all of a sudden it says, then you're not limited by your genes, you're limited, if anything, by your perception and your belief about the world that you live in, because that's the information that's going in and affecting the genes. That it has now been established that a minimum of 1/3 and more likely 2/3 of all medical healing, which includes surgery and drugs and everything else, is all accomplished through what is called the placebo effect. And that basically says that it's the mind of the patient and their belief system that ultimately determines whether the drugs or the surgery are going to manifest any difference. Basically, arthroscopic surgery, and I forgot, I think they do about 180,000 of these operations a year. A doctor at Houston wanted to do a study. He said he really wanted to find out, was it the rinsing out of the fluid or the scraping of the knee that really provided the major healing process. So he was going to do this as a research study, and the woman who was helping him said, but you must include a placebo group. And he fabricated a placebo operation. What he would do is he'd make the 2 incisions. The patient, of course, couldn't see their knee. There was a draping over it. And what he would do was put on the video screen a surgery that he had done earlier in videotape from somebody else. And so what he would do is the patient would get the incisions, they'd watch the surgery, and he would talk through the surgery like, you know, overdubbing, saying, oh yeah, everything's going great, Mr. X, and Mr. X is watching the screen and all that. So that was the placebo surgery. Didn't do anything, made 2 incisions, sewed it back up. They looked at the results, and the results were every process was equally the same. Whether they rinsed it out, whether they scraped it and rinsed it out, or whether they just did the incisions and nothing at all. He had to own, and it was like really difficult, he had to say that all I'm doing is creating a very elaborate and very expensive placebo. And the mind did the healing. There's something called the nocebo effect. And the nocebo effect is essentially the same as a placebo effect, but it's based on something different. It says a negative belief can hurt you, if not kill you, as much as a positive belief can heal you. And so the real serious issue is that it's really the power of belief. Positive or negative are equally powerful, but go in opposite directions. Right. The function of the mind is to create coherence between your beliefs and the reality that you experience. So if you have a belief in your mind that you can't do something, or that you are, susceptible to something, and that's your belief, then the mind's function is to create coherence so that you will manifest that belief to be true. So it's very interesting because Henry Ford, he would say, whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, you're right. When a patient hears that they cannot heal themselves, when there's something that's terminal, or any of these other issues, that perception alone can stop the entire healing process right there.
You know, my friend Deepak Chopra, do you know Deepak?
Yes.
You know, talked about one of his best friends, he died, he had a black mark on his lung. And when he found out that he had this black mark on his lung, it meant lung cancer, and he was devastated. And within 3 weeks, he was dead. When they were cleaning out his office, they found x-rays that had been taken of him 20 years before. Same black mark was on the lung, the exact same. It had been there for 20 years, but it wasn't until he found out and thought that this was a brand new thing, and then the mind began to take over.
And when they're ready, this is the fun part, there's something called spontaneous remission. And what is a spontaneous remission? Well, these are people, let's say, with terminal illnesses, and everybody counts them out. And then for some particular reason, which I'll get into in a second, something happens, and all of a sudden they get up out of that deathbed and they're no longer sick. And you want to say, well, what is the one common underlying feature that connects all spontaneous remission? You know what makes their health come back is because they let go of all of the things that actually gave them the disease, their belief issues, because they let it go, because they said, well, I don't have time to think about this, I'm just going to go out and enjoy my life. In that enjoyment of life and letting go of the belief, they change their perceptions, and the beautiful part about it is, as fast as you change your perception is as fast as you reprogram the cells. The cells are programmable and instantaneous.